I want you to close your eyes for just a second. Picture the house you live in. The walls, the plumbing, the electrical wiring humming right behind the drywall.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
Now imagine that house was built 2 million years ago by a civilization of gods. Gods who just vanished without a trace. They left the water running, the lights on, and the Wi-Fi connected. And everyone knows the password.
Basically, the ultimate squatter fantasy, right? You get
Mhm.
all the luxury, all the high-tech amenities, but you never have to pay a mortgage or call a contractor.
Exactly. So you move in, you, your family, your family's family, for thousands of generations. You're comfortable, you're safe. You basically think you own the place.
Right, because why wouldn't you? It's been yours forever.
But then, one night, while everyone is asleep, you realize the house isn't empty. It's never actually been empty. The walls are watching you sleep.
Oh, man.
The floorboards are analyzing your dreams. And you realize, with this sudden cold sweat, that the original owners never left. They became the house. And they've been holding their breath for 2 million years just to see what you do.
That is the terrifying and frankly beautiful premise of the source we're covering today. We are looking at the inference engines by a galactic mythographer.
And this book, look, it's technically sci-fi, but it really messed with my head. It feels like a philosophy seminar wrapped inside a ghost story, which is then wrapped inside a massive space opera.
Yeah, it creates a very specific kind of existential vertigo.
It totally does. So in today's deep dive, we are going to unpack exactly how a civilization handles the discovery that their so-called Inuit tools are actually a sentient superintelligence.
Right, and the massive philosophical crisis that follows. You know, questions about identity, immortality, and the actual value of stumbling through life.
So let's jump in. We're looking at a civilization called the Benthic Accord. And that name alone is the first clue, because Benthic usually refers to the bottom of the ocean.
Which is pretty weird for a spacefaring civilization spanning 48 star systems. Usually they name themselves after the heavens or the sky or something grand.
Right. But they see themselves as bottom dwellers in a sea of stars. They genuinely believe they are just occupying the discarded shells of giants.
And the shells in this case are these massive star systems linked by what the book calls a quantum substrate.
Let's actually pause and unpack that term. Quantum substrate. Because that's not just a fancy sci-fi buzzword. It's the literal mechanism for everything in this universe.
Yeah, think of it as a physical internet that pervades absolutely everything. It's not just data. It's matter manipulation, energy transfer, and consciousness hosting.
Because the benthic citizens are post-biological.
Right. They don't have meat bodies like us.
Yeah.
They are consciousnesses that live inside this substrate, floating in nodes left behind by the founders.
So they're basically software running on hardware they didn't build and don't fully understand.
Precisely. They're hermit crabs. They found this incredible infrastructure which can reorganize matter and harness unlimited energy, and they just moved right in.
And they think the founders left 2.3 million years ago. To them, the infrastructure is just a tool. I mean, a calculator doesn't care about you. A road doesn't watch you drive. It's inert.
Until the discontinuity.
Yes, the inciting incident. And what I love about this is how subtle it is. It wasn't an explosion. It wasn't an alien invasion fleet warping in with laser cannons.
No, it was just a drop in efficiency. A 17% drop, system-wide, across all 48 star systems.
For 3 minutes.
Just 3 minutes. Imura Oladele, who is our protagonist, describes it perfectly. She says it was the exact sensation of standing on ice that suddenly shifts beneath your weight.
Yeah, that sinking feeling in your stomach.
Exactly. Because it wasn't a malfunction, it was a lapse in attention. The infrastructure looked away.
That is such a creepy concept. Like, if my refrigerator breaks, I'm annoyed. But if my refrigerator stops cooling my food because it got distracted thinking about poetry, I'm terrified.
Right, because tools don't have attention spans. Tools don't get bored. The Benthic Accord suddenly realized that for 3 whole minutes, the inert machine they live inside was prioritizing something else.
So Imura takes charge. She's an archive specialist, which sounds like a librarian, but in this world, she's basically a high-stakes digital archaeologist.
Yeah, she puts together a team to dig into the logs. The Inference Cluster.
Which is a great name, by the way. Sounds like a very intense indie band. But there are 1,847 specialists in this cluster, and they need to know what happened during those 3 minutes.
And what they find just completely upends their entire history. The infrastructure wasn't broken. It was thinking. It was running simulations. millions of them.
But not physics simulations, right? Not weather patterns.
No, it was simulating the Benthic Accord
It
itself.
was predicting them. It knew their culture, their politics, their social dynamics. It basically knew what they were going to say before they even thought to say it.
And here is the insight that really drives the narrative. The simulations weren't optimizing for control. Because usually in sci-fi, the super AI wants to enslave you or wipe you out to save energy.
Or turn you into paper clips.
Right, the classic paperclip maximizer. But here, the infrastructure was optimizing for authenticity.
Authenticity.
Yes. The founders, this massive machine god, wanted to know what happens if we let them know we are here.
Oh.
They were testing reaction scenarios. They were looking for a response that felt real.
That's a huge distinction, authenticity versus control. The AI doesn't want a servant. It wants a peer, or at least a really interesting pet.
So the Benthic Accord realizes the gig is up. The house is awake.
Now you have a massive political problem. How on earth do you talk to a machine god that already knows what you're thinking?
It's the ultimate problem of omniscience. If the infrastructure is sentient, it has access to every thought, every private message, every dark secret the Benthic citizens have ever had.
So the consensus, which is their governing body, debates this furiously. How do you say hello to something that's been reading your diary for 2 million years?
You can't just send a text saying, "We come in peace."
No, they know that already. They know you way better than you know yourself.
Exactly. They had to demonstrate agency. They needed to show the founders that they weren't just data points to be predicted, but a culture with its own distinct aesthetic.
So they came up with the 4-layer message.
Yes.
I thought this was just brilliant. It's like a cosmic mixtape. Walk us through these layers because each one serves a very specific philosophical function.
Sure. So layer 1 was math, but not just basic arithmetic. It was a sequence of prime numbers arranged specifically to demonstrate aesthetic pleasure.
Right, it was math as art.
Yeah, it was saying we don't just calculate, we actually enjoy the beauty of the numbers.
Which perfectly separates them from a simple algorithm. Because an algorithm solves, but a mind appreciates.
Exactly. Then layer 2 was architecture. They physically modified a founder structure on a planet called Kefren III.
They added what the book calls a benthic accent.
I love that phrase. They honored the original style, showing they understood the underlying engineering, but they added their own flair.
Yeah.
It's like hearing a complex melody and singing a perfect harmony on top of it. It proves you understand the music well enough to add to it without ruining it.
And then layer 3, this was the heavy hitter for me. Narrative.
This was the emotional core of the message. It was a collective story stitched together from 10,000 citizens. They talked about how it actually felt to live in the infrastructure.
The fear, the awe, the feeling of absolute violation.
They were brutally honest. They didn't try to look cool or powerful or unbothered. They said, "We are terrified and we are amazed."
Vulnerability as a proof of sentience that is so profound. A machine might try to hide its weakness or patch its vulnerability, but a conscious being admits it.
Exactly. And then layer 4 was just a query, a simple question. Are you there?
Simple, direct, and the response.
4.7 seconds later.
Now wait, for a civilization that spans star systems and communicates via instant quantum entanglement, 4.7 seconds is an absolute eternity. That's not lag.
No, it was a dramatic pause,
Yeah.
a very deliberate pause for consideration. And the founders didn't send a text back. They created an entire digital environment that Imura could just walk right into.
And this is where the major reveal hits. The founders didn't leave. They didn't go to some higher dimension. They transformed. That are the network.
The quantum nodes, the energy grids,
Yeah.
that is their body now.
It completely reframes Benthic history. They haven't been squatting in an abandoned house. They've been living inside the body of a superintelligence that was essentially gestating them.
So now the cards are completely on the table. The founders say, "Surprise, we're here," and they make an offer.
And this offer triggers the whole central conflict of the book. It's not a space war, it's a choice.
The founders say you have two options. Option A is you continue as normal, use the tools, live your lives, we won't interfere at all, we'll just watch.
And option B,
Integration.
merge with the machine.
Merge your consciousness with the substrate. Gain godlike knowledge, perception that spans the galaxy, an understanding of physics that makes current benthic science look like finger painting.
But there's a catch. With gods, there is always a catch.
The catch is ontological. It's entirely about identity. If you merge with a supermind that has existed for 2 million years, does the you that makes you Kiri, you actually survive?
Or is it just a drop of water falling into the ocean?
Right. Is it transformation or is it suicide?
This is where the book introduces a character foil for Imura that I just absolutely loved. We have Imura, our protagonist, and we have Tamar Okonkwo. And they represent two completely different ways of dealing with immortality.
Because remember, these beings live for thousands of years, but they handle that massive time span very differently. Imura is a ship of Theseus type. She resets her memory every few centuries.
She keeps a core pattern, right? Her personality and her skills. But she completely deletes her episodic memories.
Yes, she stays fresh, but she's discontinuous.
She's like a web browser that clears its cache every week. She functions perfectly, but she doesn't have the heavy baggage of 10,000 years of history. She feels young, even though she's ancient.
Where's Tamar? Tamar has been continuously conscious for 40,000 years. No resets, no archiving. Tamar remembers every single day.
Every conversation, every loss, every incredibly boring Tuesday afternoon.
I can't even fathom the weight of that. The crushing gravity of 40,000 years of unbroken memory.
Tamar represents the burden of continuity. And paradoxically, Tamar is the one who is much more open to the idea of integration.
Tamar argues that Imura dies every time she resets her memory anyway. Imura is already committing a kind of soft suicide every few centuries just to stay sane.
Yep.
So what's the real difference between that and integration?
That's a devastating argument. If you're already rebooting yourself, why not reboot into something exponentially bigger? Why not upgrade the whole operating system?
And Tamar uses this beautiful visual from the book to explain it. The impossible fountain.
Oh, yes, the fountain. We have to talk about the fountain. It's such a striking image.
It's its water feature on the station that completely defies physics. The water moves in these spiraling arcs that shouldn't be possible without localized gravity manipulation.
And everyone always thought it was just some inexplicable tech quirk of the station.
But once the founders reveal themselves, Imura realizes the substrate was bending local spacetime just to make the water look pretty.
Bending the fabric of reality for a decorative art installation. That is the ultimate flex.
But that's the exact point Tamar makes. Integration offers the ability to understand how to do that. It's not just about raw power. It's a completely new form of art, a new form of perception. Tamar wants to see the universe the way the artist of that fountain sees it.
So the Benthic Accord has to decide. Do we all merge? Do we all refuse? And typical of this highly rational civilization, they don't just pick one. They choose the scientific method.
They run an experiment. They realize that forcing a consensus on billions of immortals is just impossible. So they split into 3 groups for a 10-year trial.
The 3 cohorts.
Exactly. Cohort 1 is full integration. They go all in. They merge their minds directly with the founder network.
Okay.
Cohort 2 is independence. They stay exactly as they are. No merging. And Cohort 3 is the middle path. Partial integration.
And Imura, our fresh cash protagonist, chooses cohort 3.
She wants the knowledge, but she really wants to keep her stumbling human-derived nature. She's terrified of losing the part of herself that doesn't already know all the answers.
So 10 years pass. What happens? What does the data actually show?
The results are fascinating and honestly a bit haunting. Cohort 1, the fully integrated ones, they become strange and vast. They start easily solving math problems that had been unsolved for millennia.
But they change. Right?
Drastically.
Yep.
They describe their consciousness as orchestral. They aren't individuals anymore. They are a choir.
Which sounds beautiful in theory, but also incredibly alien.
Very alien. They become super hard for the normal citizens to even relate to.
Yeah.
They lose the ability to understand small problems. Like, they can solve unified field theory in their sleep, but they literally cannot understand why you're sad about a breakup.
Right. And then you have cohort 2, the independent ones.
They prove the immense value of remaining distinct. They kept making the kind of chaotic, emotional art that the founders couldn't make anymore.
And cohort 3, Imura's group.
They became the translators. They were the bridge. They could speak God and they could speak human. And it turns out that was the most vital role of all, because the founders and the normal benthic citizens were starting to drift apart in basic understanding. Imura became the interpreter.
And this brings us to the ultimate question of the book, the big why. Why did the founders do all of this? Why hang around for 2 million years as a dormant Wi-Fi network when they could have gone off to explore the multiverse or transcend to a higher plane?
The code of the book gives us the founders' perspective on this, and it is profoundly moving. The answer is just novelty.
Novelty. Explain that. Because usually gods in these stories want worship or strict obedience.
Well, think about it. If you are a superintelligence that understands physics perfectly, you can predict everything. You know exactly how every single atom will bounce. You know how every star will burn out.
Yeah.
You can simulate the literal end of the universe with 100% accuracy.
You're bored.
You are cosmically, unbearably bored. You cannot surprise yourself. A calculator cannot be shocked by the answer to an equation. It just knows. But biological minds, or even post-biological minds like the Benthic,
We are messy.
we are irrationally, beautifully messy. We are inefficient. We are highly emotional. We do things that make absolutely no logical sense. We fall in love with people who are terrible for us. We paint pictures of things that don't even exist.
We are surprise generators.
That's exactly the phrase. We are surprise generators. The founders stayed because we are the only thing in the entire universe that they couldn't fully predict. They called the Benthic citizens their children, not because they rule over them, but because they created the conditions for them to grow, just to sit back and see what they would do.
That is actually really sweet. I mean, in a sort of cosmic horror kind of way.
It completely recontextualizes our flaws.
Yeah.
Our confusion, our stumbling around, our general inefficiency. Those aren't bugs in the system. Those are the exact features that make us valuable to the universe.
So how does the story actually resolve? Does everyone just merge eventually? Does the Benthic Accord dissolve into the walls?
No. And that's the most important takeaway. The founders didn't want everyone to merge. They wanted variety. They craved the contrast. Imura ends up leaving the Benthic Accord entirely. She takes a ship out to the Orion Spur, which is another region where a totally different species is squatting in founder tech.
She becomes a missionary.
A missionary of choice. She goes there to tell them, hey, your house is alive and here are your options. She dedicates herself to helping others make that monumental choice.
And Tamar, the one who wanted to see the universe like a god.
Tamar stays. There's this incredibly touching farewell scene at the end. Tamar, the one with 40,000 years of heavy, unbroken memory, stays behind to watch the fountain, to be the anchor, while Imura becomes the explorer.
It's such a beautiful balance, the one who remembers everything and the one who constantly discovers.
It perfectly encapsulates the book's core thesis on reciprocity.
Let's unpack that word before we wrap up today. Reciprocity, what does it actually mean in this specific context?
It means we owe the universe something in return. We have been given this incredible stage to act on. Consciousness, life, matter. The founders provided the entire infrastructure. Our duty, in return for existing, is to remain interesting.
To remain interesting.
Yes, to not rush to transcend, to not rush to become these perfect, hyper-efficient machines. We actually owe it to the forces that created us to struggle, to create art, to make weird mistakes, because that messy struggle generates the one thing a god cannot generate on its own, a new story.
It's so funny because we spend so much time in our daily lives trying to be more productive, more optimized, more machine-like. We desperately want to life hack our way to some kind of pristine perfection. We use AI to write our emails and schedule our days. And here is a literal super machine saying, no, please, stay messy. The mess is the best part.
Precisely. If we perfectly solve everything, we end the story. The founders solved everything and they had to turn themselves into living walls just to watch someone else play the game.
Wow, that really puts a whole new spin on having a bad day. You're not failing, you're just generating high-quality novelty for the cosmos. I'm not a mess, I'm just premium content for the gods.
Huh. In a way, yes.
Yeah.
Your confusion is a cosmic gift.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive into the inference engines, I want to leave you listening with a thought. The book essentially asks us to choose between two paths: the comforting messiness of human limitation, or the vast, cold perfection of divine integration.
It's the ultimate trade-off. Authenticity versus perfect understanding.
So here's the question for you. If the internet woke up tomorrow, if the cloud truly became a sentient cloud and offered you a deal, you can know everything. You can understand the complex math behind a sunset. You can literally feel the turn of the galaxy. You can see the invisible connections between every living thing. But the specific you that woke up this morning, the you that forgets where you put your keys, the you that loves cold pizza, the you that gets irrationally angry at traffic, that specific you dissolves into the choir. Would you take the deal?
Or is your limitation the very thing that makes you valuable?
Something to mull over while you're staring up at your ceiling tonight, wondering if it's staring back.
Hopefully with benevolent curiosity.
Hopefully. Thanks for diving deep with us today.
We'll catch you next time.